Have you ever had the feeling that you heard something that actually wasn't there? A dog scuttling and breathing behind you, maybe. Like a voice from the dead. Some people believe that sound never fades away, and maybe it pops up in different places and in different forms. A dog barking in a back street of Berlin may reappear as the breath of an old man in London. Maybe sound is a code. Maybe sound is a form of trickery. Part of my work as an acoustic designer involves listening to sound as if it were under a microscope. I had an interest in electronics and audio from an early age. When I was 10 or 11, I used to take old TVs and radios apart and modify them, and I began to build my own loudspeaker cabinets. When I was 18, I got the job of providing a PA system for the local town carnival. My interest continued as a student, and hi-fi became a passion. I was sponsored through my applied physics degree by Mullard, the valve and transistor manufacturers, and my interest in audio had now become firmly established. I began writing for the hi-fi press and researching into room acoustics and the effects of this on hi-fi performance. My hobby had become my career, my passion, my life and my obsession.
Green eyes, brown hair and smart business suits, a sharp dresser, hit on the head from behind.
I'm walking across a bridge up the Arsenale. Sometimes I just have to walk on these little bridges, just for the absolute pleasure of feeling the ground beneath my feet.
Found in a waste paper basket in the Arsenale Square, one cassette recorder, Lipit drive, and SAP RX4 software. Also, one wig, black.
After university, I set up my own practice to specialise purely in room acoustics and sound systems. This also enabled me to undertake research and carry out investigations that interested me. I often work in wonderful buildings with pure noise for acoustic tests. The look of sheer joy and surprise on one vicar's face recently when he heard his new system for the first time in his church really said it all and why I love the job that I do. In my work I go beyond listening to the sound, and instead I study and edit the rhythm, texture and tone of the material. I listen to the gaps, the hesitation, the delivery of the sound. I analyse at extreme detail. Often the process can hypnotise me as I pay testament to the unique harmonic structure of voices, musical instruments and noises in a building, with all their successes, failings and hidden intentions. I do my best to be invisible. And it can be this process that can spill into my everyday life and conversation. I can listen past words and instead go into edit mode. I can become almost like a ghost. I will keep asking questions so I can keep people talking and keep in edit mode where I can analyse the spectrum of the human voice.
He's been spotted at the fair along the Giudecca by one of our people. We believe that he's working in Venice. A credit card payment was made to a glass shop in Murano yesterday. You have an email to explain this encryption. This line is not PKI protected.
Often I wish I could record, edit and log every conversation I have, as if my whole life were a work of sonic art, waiting to be boxed and filed on a shelf somewhere. The tools for measuring acoustics are many and varied. Microphones, digital hard disk recording laptops, floating soundproof rooms, spatial processing equipment, people, music and buildings. The sound of a carpeted, fully furnished office sounds so different with bare echoing walls. For me there is a great psychological store here. I have my own test lab which has grown over the years, so that I am able to carry out almost any type of acoustic or electroacoustic measurement. There is much to discover here in this Pandora's box. And so my work has brought me here to Venice to design new acoustics for the Opera House. I am also here for another reason, Mindgate.
MindGate is a device to accurately predict and play the stock market. I'm being followed and trying I believe. I'm being followed and trying I believe.
MindGate is a device to accurately predict and play the stock market. Feel about well off me now, Arsenale. Well off me now. Feel about well off me now, Arsenale. Well off me now.
He's been spotted at the fair along the Giudecca by one of our people. We believe that he's working in Venice. A credit card payment was made to a glass shop in Murano yesterday. You have an email to explain this encryption. This line is not PKI protected. He's starting to get inside my head.
I'm entering San Marco
now.
I want you to listen very carefully to what an old friend has to say about this place. I'm walking across a bridge. Sometimes I just walk on just for the absolute feeling the ground beneath my feet.
A yard or two farther, we pass the hostelry of the Black Eagle, and glancing as we pass through the square door of marble deeply molded in the outer wall, we see the shadows of its pergola of vines resting on an ancient well with a pointed shield carved on its side. The Venetian character is nearly destroyed, first by the frightful facade of San Moise, which we will pause at another time to examine, and then by the modernizing of the shops as they near the piazza, and the mingling with the lower Venetian populace of lounging groups of English and Austrians. And then we forget them all. For between those pillars there opens a great light, and in the midst of it, as we advance slowly, the vast tower of St. Mark seems to lift itself visibly forth from the level field of checkered stones. And on each side the countless arches prolong themselves into ranged symmetry, as if the rugged and irregular houses that press together above us in the dark alley had been struck back into sudden obedience and lovely order, and all their rude casements and broken walls had been transformed into arches charged with goodly sculpture and fluted shafts of delicate stone. And well may they fall back, for beyond those troops of ordered arches there rises a vision out of the earth, and all the great square seems to have opened from it in a kind of awe that we may see it far away. A multitude of pillars and white domes, clustered into a long, low pyramid of colored light. A treasure heap, it seems, partly of gold and partly of opal and mother of pearl, hollowed beneath into 5 great vaulted porches, sealed with fair mosaic and beset with sculpture of alabaster, clear as amber and delicate as ivory, sculpture fantastic and involved of palm leaves and lilies and grapes and pomegranates, and birds clinging and fluttering among the branches, all twined together into an endless network of buds and plumes. And in the midst of it, the solemn forms of angels, sceptred and robed to the feet, and leaning to each other across the gates, their figures indistinct among the gleaming of the golden ground through the leaves beside them, interrupted and dim, like the morning light as it faded back among the branches of Eden, when first its gates were angel-guarded long ago. And round the walls of the porches there are set pillars of variegated stones, jasper and porphyry, and deep green serpentine spotted with flakes of snow, and marbles that half refuse and half yield to the sunshine, Cleopatra-like, their bluest veins to kiss, the shadow as it steals back from them revealing line after line of azure undulation as a receding tide leaves the waved sand, their capitals rich with interwoven tracery, rooted knots of herbage and drifting leaves of acanthus and vine, and mystical signs all beginning and ending in a cross.